Yes, people. How we doing, man? Welcome back to another stream. I am here with the GOATs, man. The GOATs. Who we got here, man? We got Daps from Never Have Foul. We're joined again by Mool from Noisy Pod, Hugh from the 1894, and of course, Luke from MCFC. Lads, hopefully everyone in the chat is doing good, man. We've got a big stream today, guys, because we've got loads to talk about, man. Of course, we've got this Forest game to speak about. And then we turn our attention in the second half of the show to Leipzig, round of 16. We're at it, man. It's Champions League. It's back again. Leipzig are a class team. So obviously we'll speak a lot about that. But of course, make sure you drop a like on the stream if you've not done so already. Let's get those likes past 200, man, and get more City fans in this stream. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And of course, make sure you subscribe to everyone.
They need to be higher than that, bro.
That's what I'm saying, man. You know what I mean? Get the likes up, innit?
They need to be like 300-400. Listen, hitting the like button is free, yeah? It's absolutely free, and it helps the channel more than a super chat or anything, yeah? It's literally just make sure the thumb is lit up, please, because it helps the channel massively. And I like the name, the GOATs. It's a good one. we have more right to use that than any other team.
Go on, lad. Go on. You started already. We've been live a minute. But guys, obviously, do us a favor, man. Go check all these guys out and subscribe to the channel. Put the links this time in the title, man, so it's make it even easier for you. Big up Big Steve in the chat as well, man. Hopefully he's safe journey and that all the way in, I think he's in Germany. Yeah, he's there, isn't it? So, yeah.
He's in his hotel in Stansted at the moment.
Oh, is it? Is he? Right, fair dues. Right, let's get into it then, guys, because loads to talk about. Big up Dr. Footy as well for the super chats, man. I'm going to put all the super chats on screen. I'll read out as many as I can as and when we get round to them. 2 wins on the bounce. Away at Forest, thinking, this is it, man. We're about to finally go on a streak. You're about to put a winning run together. Play really, really well, and it's just not falling for us. I mean, guys, who wants to start us off on Forest, man? I'm going to open it up to anyone.
I mean, I'll take it.
Go on, then.
Take it. Yeah, I was walking to the ground, actually. I just had the Arsenal game on my phone, and it was just like minute by minute, I saw, 6 minutes added on, they've scored, and then they've scored again. I just thought, I really hope we can beat them, because I thought they've had the 12:30 kickoff. They've won it in the last minute, fair enough, whatever. But I thought if we can win now, it's going to deflate them. Like I remember that season a few seasons ago, 2019-20, and it seemed like every time we got like a last minute winner or like a goal or whatever, Liverpool just seemed to somehow do the same thing, like just after us or whatever. And I think we go into that game, we should be winning it. We did batter them, we had chance after chance, but when you don't get the second goal, it's just always coming. And then they have one shot on target and they score at the back post. And we didn't have any time to come back. I just think we played well, didn't put our chances in, and we just gotta try and forget about it. But at the same time, we got to finish these teams off. Like at the start of the season, we'd be finishing these teams off, getting a second, third, fourth goal. But you can't leave it at 1-0 because it's always open for them to just sneak one in.
I remember saying during the watch along, I said we need 2 goals here. We need 2.
Yeah,
I thought if we get 2 goals, we'll win the game, because Forest were never going to score 2 goals in that game. But at 1-0, just like at Villa, just like in Everton, that mean we're playing against good teams,
like
playing against Premier League sides.
Well, there's so many.
You've got to be killing these games off. I find it kind of difficult to criticise too much, because I actually thought we played really well. I thought it was one of our best performances in a long, long time. I thought we created. Mulv shaking his head. I'll come to Mulv in just a second then, because he disagrees. I thought we played really well. I thought we zipped the ball around really, really well. I thought even Foden, who people are saying had a bad game, I thought that was one of his best games in a long time. Created loads of chances. Even Kevin De Bruyne, people saying he had a stinker, still created 2 chances which should have been in the back of the net. And I just thought, for me, I thought we played really well, but we didn't put the ball in the back of the net. Mulv, you disagree with that, mate?
I disagree with some of the post-match analysis, and in comparison specifically to the Arsenal match. So I heard people after the Arsenal match saying that that was a poor performance. I've heard people after this one saying this was a good performance. It's completely backwards. Completely backwards. The performance against Notts Forest was a performance from the past. We've all seen that happen time after time in the 3 or 4 years leading up to this. This is a new era for City, right? Where we're actually trying to evolve away from performances like that, where we possess the ball most of the time and we just don't stick it in the net. We're profligate, right? That's the reason that Jesus isn't here anymore. The reason Sterling's not here anymore. The reason that Haaland is here and that Alvarez is here is because that's not us anymore. Now we're trying to become a ruthless side, and that's what we were, and that's an upgrade on what we were before, and that's what we saw in the Arsenal match. In that we played slightly differently in that we were prepared to let the other team have the ball for once, and force them into mistakes, and then be ruthless in front of goal. That's the new City. That's what we're trying to get to. None of this old stuff where we got the ball. Oh, that's great. That's great. It's not. It's not.
Mulv,
The name of the game is to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's where we're going with this team now. So the Arsenal performance was great in terms of our new identity, and the Notts Forest was a throwback to a prior time that we're trying to get away from.
Mulv, I was going to completely disagree with you before you started talking, because of what Lewis said. I think the pros I took from the game is we were moving the ball about properly at pace. Yeah. The other thing that I've been screaming we haven't been doing enough is recycling the ball, winning the ball back quickly, right? But then I get it. You are right, yeah? We were a bit like, not last year Pellegrini, but maybe our frustrations over the Pep era where we're passing a bit too much. But what you said is right. However, it's easy to be ruthless against Arsenal at the Emirates, who will bring it to us. But Forest were never going to bring it to us. So it's hard to be ruthless to a team that want to play a low block. You can't, it's more difficult to be ruthless, and do you know what I mean? So it's, I get what you're saying, but like we'll struggle with that because no one brings it to us like that. So
every time they got the ball, they just gave it away. Like they'd do 2 passes and it'd be out for throwing, or Edison would have the ball. Like they didn't want to attack for the first 85 minutes. And it made sense. Even when they conceded the goal, the game plan was the same. But instead of trying to nick a late winner, they just go for the late equaliser that they got. And I think you're right with that. It's kind of, I know what Mulv's saying a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, with the opponents, like Forest were never, you kind of stuck. You have to play a certain way because they're just going to sit back regardless. So
what was it, Mulv, what in particular that you didn't like about the performance?
Were there things that we did well? Yes. But that would be a good performance for somebody like Man United, Newcastle, Arsenal. That would be a good performance for them. For teams that are coming or trying to emulate what City have done over the past years, that would be good for them. That's not good for City now. That's not a good performance. We're trying to go to another level above those teams. And there is so big of a gap between the talent levels, the manager, the experience between Manchester City and Nottingham Forest that there is not a scenario where dropping points to Nottingham Forest is a good performance. It's not a good performance because a good performance from a team so far ahead of Nottingham Forest would yield a win.
I hear you, but at home, they haven't lost in the league in 5 months. I do hear what you're saying 100%, but I will be honest, in this league, I don't believe any game is a foregone conclusion. And we aren't the City of 2 years ago that, you know, we won 2 games on the bounce. We have to be real with ourselves that we're not out of maybe third gear at the moment. We're not that confident City that are. We're getting our we were getting our confidence back. But I do hear what you're saying. I hear everything you're saying, but. Was it just that we weren't clinical enough? That was ultimately the thing.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
such a massive
Yeah,
part of
I don't think
performance,
Forest will
though.
walk away. Forest won't leave that game saying that they played particularly well either. They won't. They set up with a game plan, and the game plan didn't work. They didn't keep us out. For me, it is as simple as we were not clinical enough. I think there's a huge amount of positives to be taken from the game. Yes, it's so frustrating because the reality is, on another day, it is for me. I put it down as just one of those days. I really do, because on another day we do score 5 or 6 goals. A problem we have had all season is we weren't creating the chances. We weren't coming away from games and saying, yeah, we could have scored 5 or 6 today, but we didn't, and it's just one of those days. In that game, we did. We created 5 or 6 clear-cut chances, and we didn't score them. Forest didn't draw that game. We did. We drew that game from not being clinical. We could have blown them away in the first half. We could have blown them away early in the second half. I don't think the City team will walk away from that game having their confidence damaged too much, because they will say, right, yes, we dropped 2 points, but it's still February. It's not ideal, but the way we played, I think the way we played, there's a huge amount of positive to be taken from it. Getting in behind, crosses actually reaching their destination, some silly shots on goal from Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, I don't know why Kevin De Bruyne is having 5 and 6 pot shots. It has to get to the point where he decides, okay, it's not working, try to do something else. But on another day, some of those might go in. And some of the chances go in. How often does Haaland miss a sitter like that? I think the last time he missed a sitter like that was probably the Community Shield against Liverpool, and that's ages ago now. I'm not too doom and gloom about this one. I'm really not.
I'm with you on that. I'm not too doom and gloom.
I'm not doom and gloom either. I'm just saying people are characterizing it as a good performance when it wasn't. I'm past it. I'm already past it because I've seen that match play out hundreds of times in the past few years. I'm just saying that was not a progression. That is not in line with. It's not in line with the way the club is going in terms of trying to be a ruthless team.
I think this is the key. So many times we go 1 goal up and we don't get the second. That's the frustration. And when we don't get the second, we all know that when it gets to like the 75th minute, we become vulnerable to counters. Like for whatever reason it is, we become vulnerable to counters. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
You know what it is? There's a really fine line in determining whether you're a ruthless team or a not ruthless team. If Haaland's chance goes in, we're 2-0 up. If Laporte's header goes in, we're 3-0 up. And you're walking away from that game saying, sorry, we were a ruthless team. It's really fine margins. And sometimes when the cookie doesn't crumble your way, it just doesn't crumble your way. Like I said, that game we could have won 5 or 6 times over, and we just didn't. I'm really happy with the progression we made. I think it was progression on plenty of the performances this season. We've watched games, lads, this season where we're pulling our hair out. We couldn't get in behind a defense for life nor death. We couldn't create a clear-cut chance for life nor death. But this game, we created chance after chance after chance. And the reason we didn't win the game is because we just weren't clinical enough. It just didn't fall our way. And for me, it's as simple as that. I think we play that exact same game tomorrow and we put 5 past them.
Yeah. Interesting. Big up Shardlight, man, for the 5 gifted. Appreciate that, bro. I want to ask you a question, because there's been a bit of a debate on when we did the watch along, we did the player ratings this morning. There was a bit of a debate about whether or not you think Pep Guardiola should have switched it to a back 4. Not necessarily to start with, because clearly that worked, but 1-0 up, 15, 20 minutes to go. You've seen Chris Wood come on. We all basically, I'm pretty sure every single one of you said to yourself, here we go. People are saying, do you think Pep Guardiola should have gone to a back 4 and put Ake on for Bernardo Silva? I'm torn on it. I am, and I'm not sitting on the fence. This is why, because I think it's easy to say now in hindsight, that's what he should have done. But I also feel, would you have invited more pressure on if you would have took Bernardo Silva on?
At no point did I see, I'll be honest, at no point, and I've been in games where I have been worried, at no point in that game was I actually thinking they're going to get an equaliser. I wasn't. When doing the watch along, they said there's a goal at City, I was thinking we've probably got a second. I wasn't. But in hindsight, now when you say it, Chris Wood coming on last 15,
At 20 minutes to go, me and the guy next to me and looking at each other going, this has got 1-1 written all over it. And I would have done the opposite, Lewis. I would have brought Alvarez on in a game that we've all admitted here was screaming for somebody who could finish. You've got Alvarez. How did he not get a single minute in this game? When our issue was we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net.
So you would have gone the opposite way, tried to kill it off.
That's what I'm saying. You got to
I think
put your ruthless players in there.
He came on for 2 minutes, but we already.
True. Sorry. Thank you.
I think, yeah, I know what you mean though. If you brought him on 70 or something, he might have slotted in a couple, and the game's over. But I look back at that Leicester game, the away game. We didn't make anything all game. De Bruyne dunked in like a free kick and off the bar, or the post, sorry, from like 30 yards or whatever. And you could have easily looked at that game and said we were shit basically. But we win the game 1-0, and then this game we make a lot more chances, and it just doesn't quite go our way, like you said. So yeah.
I'm looking at that game and saying it was crying out for Riyad Mahrez. Whether he's in form or he's not, the amount of space our wingers were getting was unbelievable. And we know if you give Mahrez the opportunity to take that touch, cut in on his left foot. I mean, how many pot shots do we have on the edge of the box? The players just couldn't get it on target. They're just useless shots. Mahrez is a specialist at that. I think that game was crying out for a vintage Mahrez curler into the far post, but Pep didn't make it. I mean, Alvarez came on at what, 88 minutes or something?
Yeah,
that's ineffective, man. That's ineffective. Alvarez isn't going to have enough time to come on and make a stamp on the game with 88 minutes.
I think that's not good enough. Pep will also say though, Huey, that Pep sometimes does leave substitutions till very late on, and it's like, come on. Like, I'll be honest, the Aguero one in the Champions League final, it was, come on, man. That was hindsight's a beautiful thing. I agree with Huey. I think that performance was good. There was a lot of positives I took from it, but I do understand what Mulv is saying, that we want to be ruthless, but it's hard to be ruthless against teams like Forest that don't want to come out of their own box. Like,
it's hard to be. I get what you say. It's hard to be ruthless against teams like Forest, but we had the chances to be ruthless.
We did.
It turns out, like Hugh said, the cookie didn't crumble. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate. But yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat this morning saying thought should have brought Ake on at 15 minutes or whatever just to show it up. Also, a lot of talk about Kevin De Bruyne. I think this is another very controversial comment at the moment in terms of, is he actually playing well or not? Now, he did have quite a few shots. I think he had 7 shots in total. None of them were really that good. I agree in terms of his actual overall performance wasn't great. However, if you look at the chances again, he was the one who put the corner in for Laporte, who should score a goal. He put the ball in for Rodri, where he should really hit the target, and with the pace on the ball, it goes in. So what are your guys' thoughts on Kev? Because, like I say, not the best performance, but he did his job in terms of creating the chances. The players just didn't do their job and put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I don't think he can have he can't have a 10 out of 10 performance every game. But as you said, he's made chances, and it's not down to him to finish him off at that point. So for me, I think I've heard the odd person here and there on Twitter, especially, it's a bad play sometimes, saying that he should be rested again. But we saw what happened last time he was rested at Spurs and things didn't click. So I think you've just got to play him. Like, any City team for me without De Bruyne is far worse. Without De Bruyne is far worse than a team with him in. So
do you know what? I've said this before. It's a bit like Tottenham with Kane, right? That I get it, and I've said this a few times where De Bruyne, I honestly think his form has been bad, but if you've got a player whose form can still be bad, this season for me might be one of De Bruyne's worst ever seasons, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is he top of the assist league?
He's good. Yeah, he's
right. Like 12, and that is the issue. That when you have a player that even when his form is bad, right, he's top in the assist league, and then you have a player like Haaland, who if you've got someone that can assist, will generally score. How do you drop him? How do you possibly drop them?
That's it, 100%. He's too good to drop because he could give you a magical moment that you wouldn't get if you subbed him out. So
he came on and won games in 10 minutes. So how do you drop that? It's very difficult to drop something like that.
Yo, wait a sec. Yo, is anyone else's audio for Daps?
Yeah, Daps is maybe just unplug.
Just for Daps, yeah.
Daps, can you just unplug your mic a sec? Hugh, what did you think of Kev?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the lads. He's one of those players in the 1% of players in the world that even if they're not playing well, you can't drop them. I mean, if that header goes in from Laporte, I think it was from the cross from De Bruyne, if that goes in, you're analysing De Bruyne's game differently. Like, he's really frustrating at times. As much as we all love him, you have to admit, lads, he's so frustrating at times because we have such high standards for him. And then when he's doing 4, 5, and 6, and I think it was 7, you said, shots on goal, all of them pretty useless. You're like, you're so much better than this. You could have used that ball so much better, but I still don't want to take you off because I know you might do something class. He's an absolute head wreck, De Bruyne. He really is. It's just mad how he can go from a 10 out of 10 against Arsenal to that performance against Nottingham Forest, and that's kind of been a tale of De Bruyne season. He'll have a really, really
The
good
thing is,
game
though,
one week.
I'm going to ask you a question here, Hugh, right? And I don't know the answer, so I'm just genuinely asking. If he didn't score that goal against Arsenal, right, does he still have a 10 out of 10 performance? Because it's like the game that he had against Forest. He put in the cross for Laporte, should be in the back of the net. He put the cross in for Rodri. I think he should score. He also put the ball in for Gundogan, where Gundogan just needs to get a toe to it, and it's in the back of the net, and he just missed it. 3 golden opportunities. If they all score them, which on another day, I know people say, oh, yeah, ifs and buts. On another day, they all go in. You see, he gets 3 assists. Everyone's saying it's the best performance of the season so far. Is that maybe a characteristic of Kevin De Bruyne's game where he kind of needs the stats for people to say he had a good game?
Yeah, it probably is part of Kevin De Bruyne's game that he needs the stats for people to say he's had a really good game. Because if you don't, then people start to look at those kind of shots that I'm talking about. 5 and 6 occasions where he has a wild shot in goal and it ends up in row Z, or it's an easy save for Navas. It's the nature of being a chief chance creator. That's the nature of your game. You're relying on your teammates to also help you out in their roles. So if his teammates aren't scoring the clear edge chances he's creating, it's going to reflect slightly worse on him. And that's just unfortunate for Kevin De Bruyne. It's just the way his role is.
Yeah. That you were saying something, man, but
I can't remember. Am I all right now?
Yeah, you are right now. We were just talking about Kevin De Bruyne, bro.
What it was, to be honest, but
No, that's not no problem, man. No problem. Yeah, but I thought it was an interesting performance from Kev, and I thought it was frustrating, mainly because of the shots. I think if he doesn't have as many shots, I don't think he's as frustrating. But he does his job. He'll be sat there at night going, "I did nothing wrong. I put 3 balls into the box. He should have scored them all."
To see something that I've said before. I don't think he's been good at this season, but in previous seasons are massive, is his recycling, his winning the ball back. So I'd be interested to see those numbers at the weekend, because that is very important, and see if he's doing that. But the whole game was just frustrating, even down to the goal. Their goal, by the way.
Yeah. No, interesting. 2 last things I want to talk about on this game before we move it on to the Champions League. Phil Foden got a start. Not seen him for a long time starting a game. I'm going to put it out there now. I thought he played well in terms of energy. We've not seen that sort of energy from him in a long time. People calling him greedy. I think you don't understand Phil Foden. I think that's what you want. That's the type of player he is. They run at players. You don't want to take that away from his game. The only thing that for me was lacking, and I can understand it because he's not started a game for a long time, is that sort of final ball, that final sort of clinical nature of the pass or a shot. Well, that'll come with time, and that happens to all players. Unfortunately, of course, he went one-on-one and then slipped. Shit happens, unfortunately. But guys, what did you make of Phil Foden? Move, I'll come to you on that one, mate. What do you think of Phil?
Yeah, I thought he was really lively. It was good to see him back. Just that final decision was lacking from him. I'm not going to give him any shit for slipping when he was through with Haaland there. I mean, that just happens. I think he had every intention of getting it to Haaland for the tap-in. It just didn't come off. Yeah. I said before, I think for us to win the league or to win a major trophy, we're going to have him and some of the other, of our top level talent, find some form. So he's got to get minutes. I think that was probably the right game for him to get some time. And yeah, he looked good, just missing maybe just slightly rusty.
Do you know, Lewis, you touched on a really good point that it's his first game back, right? And we have to remember that for the last 2-3 years, when Foden is through on goal, his job was to score, right? That's how his mind has been programmed, yeah? Now, Haaland is here, which means mind has to be programmed differently. He hasn't played for weeks, yeah? So first game back, he's probably going to go to, when I'm through on goal, it's my job to score. Like we saw it with pretty much every City player at the start of the season. They have to get on, and Foden was one of the worst at the start of the season, to be fair. Then about 3 games in, it switched. So we have to give him a bit of slack. It was his first game back. He's having to get up to speed. I thought it was good. I thought he offered that threat that maybe Grealish doesn't. It's more direct, which is what we want to see. I think Marvin's spot on. We need Foden at his best. I saw something earlier where it was talking about our GA of like Aguero, Sterling, maybe Sane, I think it was. And it was compared to where we are right now, we need Foden, because he's someone that can get a high GA, right? We need that. And I think the Champions League game, I hope it starts again, because I think he needs that run of a few games to get up to speed with it all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Foden is very, very important to this side, and I think from sort of the Liverpool game at Anfield, I think he's been absent. I think he's been ghosting, and but I've looked at his stats. Talk about GA, right? You got some stats for you. Highly advise you to go and check his stats when he plays on the right-hand side compared to the left-hand side. His goals and assists are miles higher when he's on that right-hand side of the football pitch. I don't know why. Don't know whether because he can get the ball and he can drift in is inside that he did a lot against Forest. Whether it's on the left, he's maybe holding the touchline a little bit more. Maybe Favour's going on the outside. I don't know, but the problem is, of course, Mahrez. Mahrez has obviously been hitting the goals recently. I know he's been a little bit quiet the last couple of games, but he went through some good form. Now it's Champions League, and we all know what Champions League Mahrez is like. But yeah, Phil Foden's going to be absolutely crucial to our season, and we need to get him back firing. And of course, he's got a passion for it. He's a City fan from the area. You know what I mean? I think you need someone like that in the team for me. But it's just about where do you actually play him? Because do you play him on the right? Mahrez is doing well. Do you play him on the left? Grealish is finally doing well. Do you play him in the middle? Gundogan's playing well. Kev's creating the chances. All right, we didn't score. Created the chances. Very, very difficult. And obviously, false nine is now is in the bin, isn't it? So interesting on the Foden thing. Hugh, anything to add on Foden, bro?
I think it's just a bit of ring rust. Like, you have to take into account how little football he's played for months. I think it's just a bit of ring rust. I've said since the start of the season, my favourite front three, regardless of how Mahrez is playing, is Grealish, Haaland, Foden. Because as good as Mahrez is at what he does, it's very predictable what Mahrez is going to do. Foden gives you a huge amount of unpredictability. He's happy to go on the outside. He's happy to go on the inside. And a fun fact is that's the first time we've seen that front three, Grealish, Haaland, Foden, start together since we beat United 6-3. So you can see why maybe it didn't work as fluidly as you would like, but I still think it's the perfect combination of players to penetrate any backline. And I'd persist with it. I would give it more time. I think you had an overall good game. And similar to De Bruyne, if that pass from Foden doesn't take a bobble and it goes straight to Haaland and he tucks it away, we're analysing Foden's game as a class return to the starting 11. So it's really fine margins.
Yeah, no, factual. Before we move on to Champions League, the last part I wanted to mention, and I don't think we'll stay on this point too long, is the goal that we conceded. Really frustrating for me, man. You know, you've got Bernardo Silva sprinting out, which I've looked at the replay so many times, I just don't think he needs to do that. I think Rodri's coming over from the midfield. I think he doesn't need to sprint out. That leaves one of the players on the right-hand side completely free. That drags Laporte out of position. I think Laporte could do better. For me, I've looked at it again today. Should he took a tactical foul? He's out of position. He knows Bernardo Silva's out of position. That's two of your four all out of position. Could he have took a tactical foul? Maybe. Rodri, I think it's a bit harsh to say much on Rodri. The guy's sprinting at him in full pace. He's inside the penalty area. Do you really want him putting a foot in there? Could give a penalty away. And then I think Diaz is fine. Don't think Edison can do too much. But then I look at Walker and think, I do think Walker switched off for me. So, you know, for me there, I look at the defence and unfortunately, maybe being hypercritical, don't know, I'll get your thoughts on it, but I think 3 out of the back 4 could have done better there. And only Diaz for me, I thought had a great game, despite the little defending he had to do, was not at fault.
I'd agree with that. I think in parts, particularly the start of that passage of play, we were almost too aggressive defensively. We were sort of chasing it all in the midfield. And like you said, Bernardo steps up and gets beaten really easily.
Mm-hmm.
After that, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's a case of being a little bit lax.
Probably, yeah.
And switching off. Yeah, so as is quite typical when City concede, it's always a number of errors that pile up, you know, consecutive errors that, and then ends up that outside of maybe the Laporte header, which was point blank range, they've probably ended up with the best chance of the game. You know, we didn't create a chance like that.
Yeah,
that easy.
Good point. It's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, by the way, I think Navas was quite good for them as well. Actually,
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Navas was good. Showed he's a good keeper, but he showed it.
He did, but it was, you know, we wouldn't be talking about that if we would have put our chances away. You know, Laporte heads the ball straight.
Very true, Lewis. You know, to be fair,
Haaland misses one from 6 yards out. So yeah, I get it. I like Navas, but I'm not talking about Navas having a good game for me in that game because you know we caused the issues. It wasn't like he was out there.
Yeah, do you know what? That is a fair point. It's a fair point.
But yeah, anything else on the goal?
Do you know what? I just think the amount of counters we get hit on in the last 15 minutes, right? It is interesting if maybe do we do much on the training pitch about how we handle the counters? Because it is a thing. We do get hit on the counter way too often.
Well, it's the blueprint to beat Manchester City, isn't it? It's just play counter-attack.
100%,
Everybody who sets out with the intention of beating Manchester City, you play a low block, you defend, and then you're going to get 2 or 3 chances at most. And if you can take 1 or 2 of them, you're on a good road to beat Manchester City. And look, with that goal, I think you're right. Some of the defenders could have done better. I think they're probably so consumed at that point with chasing a second goal that maybe their defensive awareness slips a little bit. But I was the same as you guys. Once that ball broke on the halfway line and they got in behind, I sat there like it's 1 each. Like they're going to score. This is the most typical City ever. It's so typical City. But look, it is what it is. They'll learn from it. Hopefully.
And do you know, sorry, and the thing that frustrates me off the back of this, and I know MCFC lads, me and you have probably both posted Summit today, and City Xtra probably have as well, and maybe even you two. Our fan base, right? We've just broke it down a bit, but an element of our fan base, not all, instantly just go for Ederson. Instantly, right?
Yeah, I don't like that, man. I don't like that, man. People are far too quick when we concede a goal. I saw stats like 4 out of the last first shots on goal we've had in the last however long have all ended up in goals, or shots on target have all ended up in goals. As if that's like always Ederson's fault. The defense are unaccountable for that sort of thing. Like people are far too quick to jump on Ederson, and I think it's really unfair.
Such a misleading stat. If you just look at the goals, like Harry Kane's goal, you can't do anything about. The Forest goal is nothing to do with him. Like there's a ball to the back post. How is he supposed to get that out? I can't really remember the
Everton, top corner.
Everton, yeah.
Just frustrating. And I think because we concede so few chances, and obviously when we do concede a chance, but this is going back to being clinical. You know, we need to be more clinical, more clinical. Like you can't go through a football season expecting that if we concede a goal, then you'll be fat. Like you need to be scoring more goals. You're playing in the Premier League. Teams are going to score against you. We're not a Mourinho team. You know what I mean, we're not David Moyes' team where we sit back on the edge. We are a team that attacks. Therefore, we will get caught on the counter-attack. We will open up sometimes and we will concede goals. So then when you're playing games, it's absolutely crucial that you're clinical. Otherwise, you will get punished. At the Everton game, guy puts one in the top corner. It's the fucking Premier League. People are going to be able to do that now and again. Do you know what I mean?
And this is the thing. We saw it in the Madrid game last season at home, right? And this is the thing, the team that worries me. If we beat Leipzig home and away, if we face Napoli, we have to understand they are going to come, like they are a team that even City on their best day, they could outscore us, So we have to, this is why we've got Haaland. Let's be clear. This is why we have Haaland, to be clinical. So that's probably what Mulv was talking about at the start, that we face Napoli, we have to be clinical. Otherwise, we might, and I know people will try and find a way to blame Ederson if we face Napoli and lose, but the only way we are going to beat Napoli is by being clinical. The only way. So we have to get used to it.
Right, let's turn our attention to the Champions League. We've got a donation here. In fact, a member chat from Fatin says, the Leipzig game is going to be really tough, but we need to finish our chances. 100%. We've got a super chat here from Benno, who says, it just felt the equaliser was coming. But being on the CFA tour today made my lad's year. Saw players arriving and saw Grealish filming Puma content. Lovely stuff, man. Glad you enjoyed it, bro. We got Coleham with a super chat saying, no point in hating Ederson. Pep will not drop him. So annoying seeing only him get hated, though our whole team hasn't really been good enough recently. Yeah, it's agendas, man. That's what it's about. It's agendas.
100%.
Guys, make sure you drop a like on the stream, man. We're almost at 300 likes in it, so hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and of course, check out all the channels in the title. We've got Daps from Never a Foul, Move from Noisy Pod, Podcast, Hugh from 1894, and Luke from MCFC Lads. So guys, go do us a favour, make sure you subscribe to them all. But now we're going to turn our attention in the final part of the show to the game coming up on Wednesday. It's the Champions League returns. The champions. It is back.
Best team.
Yeah, it's we got Leipzig. I got to tell you something, lads. When we got Leipzig in the draw, I was fairly happy. And the reason I was happy is I don't like, in the last 16, I don't like dead teams, because like I kind of like getting yourself prepared. You don't want to be playing someone you're going to smack 6-0 because then you're not ready for the quarterfinals. But you don't really want like a PSG, So I was quite happy with Leipzig, but I've got to say, the closer we've got to this game, I'm worried, man. You know, we're not in a good form. I know they got beat at the weekend against Union Berlin, but it was on an 18-match unbeaten streak before that. They are a top quality side. They play with pace, energy. This is going to be one hell of a tough game, guys, and we've got to be at the races. And I can't remember who said it now, but we've also got to be clinical when we get chances. Because there's no doubt in my mind we will get chances against Leipzig. It's just, will we actually take them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched the Leipzig this season. They have a scary front three, man, of Nkunku, Werner, and Andre Silva. Like, when we talk about being clinical, I know people slag off Werner based on the way he played in the Premier League, but when I tell you he's been cooking for Leipzig, I promise you he's been cooking. So is Nkunku, and so is Andre Silva. I watched them. They're in a group with.
About Werner, you know.
Man, I tell you, he's a different man. He's a different man. I think they're third or fourth in the Bundesliga. They're beating teams well. All their main men are scoring goals. Like, they won't be fearing Manchester City. They won't. They'll be saying, if Forest can get one chance and score it like that, we're going to get 4 or 5 chances like that, and we fancy ourselves to score them as well. So City all over the park need to be on their game. I'm just hoping for a complete performance from City, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be the walkover. I'm seeing people already talk about who we're going to get in the next round, Like, don't even think about the next round. It's not in the conversation yet.
When people have been saying, do you think that Pep and City have maybe got their eyes on the Champions League? What I've been saying to them is, how dare us if we have? We can't put a run together of more than 2 games, right?
Yeah.
Like, and me personally, the league is my bread and butter. I always want to win that, right? Of course, I want the Champions League, but the league is the bread and butter. 38 games, and we live in England. We're around other people, not on Twitter where you're bragging, in real life, right? And like you said, every Champions League game is different to the Premier League. And even more so with this Leipzig team, there's players in that team that they're facing a Premier League team. This is their big stage. This is where you've got Werner will have something to prove because of the fact that he flopped in the Premier League. And Nkunku's coming next season. He wants to get up to pace. Then you've got other players that will want to impress because they want to move to the Premier League. So they are going to be so up for this game. I
think we'll know after the performance on Wednesday what the kind of maybe overall objective for the season was. Because there's a part of me thinks, just maybe it's conspiracizing, I don't know, that the plan was for the whole season, stay within arm's length of a Premier League title race, go for it. But I think we're naive to think that board, the manager, and the group of players we have aren't absolutely desperate to win the Champions League. So I wonder will we see a different mindset, a different approach. Will the players look slightly hungrier? I'm really intrigued to see how the whole thing shapes up in this competition.
Yeah, I've heard other people say that, Hugh, but the problem is with the Champions League, it's a lot of luck involved. So you can go out there and play the best football you've ever played in your life, and dodgy referee mistake, you know, whatever, the other team turns up, a wildy from the opposition striker, and you're out the competition. This is why, for me, I always would say prioritise the league, because ultimately, if you play well over the course of the season, you'll win the league. You don't have to play well necessarily.
I'm the same, man. I'm the same. I'm the same as you and Daps. Like I said, the league is what I want to win every single season. But I just believe that Pep Guardiola is desperate to win the Champions League, and you can't focus on what you're saying. What you're saying is spot on. Like, you know, you need a lot of luck. You need a rider's luck. How many teams have won the Champions League with, 4 easy draws or 3 easy draws, and they get a tough one in the final? They win that happy days. Well done. You do need a rider's luck, but you can't focus on that. All you can do is go out and play your best football and play, with that mentality of we want to win this competition. And that's the way I think City are possibly approaching this season. I think they view this as this is the season we have to win the Champions League, because the whole world's watching this game. The whole world's baying for City to get knocked out yet again and have a laugh at us yet again. So there's massive pressure on this competition.
Even more so with certain players, because we have to be real, right? When players come from other countries, they want to win. And I always said this about Mane at Liverpool, that they want to win the Premier League. They want to win an FA Cup. They want to win everything they can domestically, but they also want to win the Champions League more than anything, right? Yeah. And I always remember a Bernardo Silva interview after I think we'd done the domestic treble, and he was pissed off. It was at the trophy parade, and he was pissed off, saying we should have gone further in the Champions League. So I know Bernardo Silva will want this more than anything. Probably Laporte, because we think maybe this might be his last season. He'll want this more than anything. Walker's coming of age. He's got Leeds. He'll want this. So there's a lot of players in our team that we've spoke all season about. Is it hard to get players up for something that they've won so many times? The whole silk pajamas thing. Well, this is one thing that our players haven't won yet. So these players, They will want this more. They will. But they have to show it. They have to. Because we want it. Let's be clear, as a fan base, we're going over there in numbers because we want it as well.
It's only human, really, isn't it? That when you've won a competition so many times, the hunger levels just simply aren't the exact same as they were before you won the first one. And like you said, so many players have individual personal reasons as to why they really want to win this. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne, he's looking at an Etihad Stadium statue if he wins the Champions League. Pep Guardiola probably is too. There's different incentives to this competition, which is why I think that they're really, really going to go for it.
Same with our manager, to be frank, as well.
Yeah. No, for sure. Defensively, obviously, it's going to be a test. Hughes obviously mentioned the players that they've got, and we know how lethal they can be. They're a great side, pace, energy. What would your guys' defence be going into this game? Because obviously, Bernardo Silva did work against Forest in the attacking sense. Didn't maybe work at the end where we conceded the goal, but attacking sense. Do you be brave and go for it again? Or do you think you need to bring Ake in? Do you stick with Laporte, Diaz? Do you stick with Walker? Does Rico Lewis feature in anyone? Move, I'll come to you on that one, bro. What are you saying?
Honestly, torn, mate. I mean, I think I might be damaged by the counter-attack goal we just conceded, to be honest with you, and lean straight into a back four, get Ake back at left back. I honestly don't know. I'm just going to have to trust Pep on this and what he thinks is our best solution. The front three does really scare me of them. So if you put a gun to my head, I'll lean towards a back four with Ake, Laporte, Diaz and Walker.
For the away game, I would go with that 100%. I'd go for the most solid defensive option you can go for. Play for a clean sheet. See can the attackers, get a goal or two, but take a clean sheet if you can to the Etihad where you really try to get them then. Because in their own ground, their attackers are really going to go for it. So I'd 100% go with Ake. Like we've seen Ake up against the best or one of the most informed wingers in the world already this season in Bukayo Saka. So I put Ake up. They've got fast wingers. I'd put him up there as well. I'd go for the defensive option.
So doesn't that go, right? So what Mo started this whole show talking about, the ruthlessness, right? And how it doesn't work in the Premier League because teams play low blocks. The one thing we can probably say, there's not many teams in the Champions League, let alone in the knockout stages, that play low blocks. They come at us. So now, is this, we've all said it, we could have carried on being domestically dominant playing with the false nine, right? But we said, no, we need more than this. We want the big ears like mine, yeah? So we got Haaland. So is this not the perfect game for you said they're going to come at us. So now this is where we need to be ruthless. Hit them on the counter.
Well, who are they most like in the Premier League?
Old Liverpool, maybe.
Yeah, they have a touch of Klopp's Liverpool and a touch of Ten Hag's Man United. So a hybrid in between there. It sounds mad, but that's the way I'd call it.
Yeah, then that leads. I think that leans towards a more defensive setup at the back. So, yeah, he likes to play. He's even played Laporte at left back occasionally against those sides. I don't think he'll do that again now that Ake can do that role. But I'm heavily leaning towards a solid back defensive four.
Luke, what are you saying?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. To be honest, I'm pretty confident personally. But saying that, like, you can never really. As long as we don't lose the game, like away first in the Champions League, you'd probably rather play away first. As long as you don't lose the game and you can bring, a chance to win at the Etihad and go through. I think as long as we don't lose the game, it's quite a rare opportunity for City. Often you want to win every game, like you go to Forest, you want to win. Those kind of league games, you're always looking to win. But in this kind of game, it's a rare occasion where a draw actually isn't that bad. Like if you draw the game, you can come back to the Etihad, win at the Etihad, you're through. Having said that, to be honest, I do think we can win the game. But yeah, I'd go with the back four as well. You just want to be a bit more safe and sound than starting three at the back and risking, losing the game really.
In this competition, I just want to see Pep be more strategic. I want to see him approach every single Champions League game for what it is. Don't just go with we're City, we play this way regardless of who we're playing against. I get that's beautiful, and in essence it sounds great when you're beating everybody the same style of football and it looks like you're triumphant. But because this is a different competition that we haven't excelled in yet, we haven't completed yet, approach each game, do what Luke's saying, set out for a clean sheet, be defensively sound in Germany, take wait until Eddie hadn't beat them. And same for the next round, whoever we face then, analyze what we're looking at, home or away kind of thing. Be really strategic. Approach each individual game in the Champions League for what it is. Because I don't think we're going to...
Curveball then. What you two just said. Calvin Phillips.
Well, you know what's funny is,
Calvin Phillips got that long ball in him,
listen,
over the
listen
top.
So listen, since the beginning of the season, I've said what I believed was the plan. Although I now doubt it's the plan because I don't think Pep fully trusts him. Is I thought Pep was going to go to a double pivot in midfield with Rodri and Calvin Phillips. Because one thing that's been really, really poor for this football club since Pep has come in is the amount of goals we concede in knockout Champions League football is ridiculous. And I thought one of the things that he might do there with Calvin Phillips coming in is double pivot it, be a little bit more solid. Obviously, he can play football as well. Like you say, you can put the ball in behind and go forward. I've said that all season. However, given just the complete lack of football minutes that Calvin Phillips is getting, I just don't think Pep rates him or just doesn't think he's ready to go.
That's exactly how I feel. Yeah.
But I do think that was something that maybe was in the plan, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that as well because obviously seeing Calvin Phillips play for England, he plays in that role. And England typically in kind of knockout games don't concede that many goals. So that could work. But if there's any time you're going to do it, you've got to do it now. But you can't wait for a quarter-final or a semi-final, even if he gets league minutes or cup minutes or whatever. If you're going to play him in the Champions League, especially later on, you've got to do it now. It's now or never, really, for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. I completely agree.
Suited to it because it's one of those things with the champ. Look, we have won leagues by being City, 38 games, right? And what we've realised is in the Champions League, look at Chelsea, Di Matteo, Tuchel, right? We do need to just. It's a cup game. Let's treat cup games like cup games now. And Hugh is spot on. We need to approach it not being City, looking at the team we're playing. And going, right, let's play strategically. Look at the players we've got. I do think you're right. That's why we got Calvin Phillips. It's just whether you're also right. Does he trust him? Do we trust him? We don't know because we haven't seen enough.
This is where people can't say he's shit or he's good because he's not played minutes for us. He can't
Same
decide.
Gomez, to be fair.
Yeah, well, so it's going to be an interesting one to see how he sets up the team. Let me just go through this. We've got Guzman Laurie, a member for 4 months, said, watch Pep play Bernardo left back against Leipzig and we'll get slapped up. So obviously he clearly wants Ake at left back. Kieran says with a 5, says, you think if we'd drawn against Arsenal and beaten Forest, the media narrative would have been less negative this week. Also, we've hunted down teams before.
Listen, we didn't win the league after we won in the Emirates, and we didn't lose it when we drew in Nottingham Forest. The media will be the media. They'll say things after we don't win games. They won't focus on the positives that we've already spoken about in this. So let them write whatever they want.
Fair, well answered, bro. 100% good answer. Last 2 things I want to talk about this game. Midfield, quickly. Gundogan or Bernardo Silva in the middle. What would you do?
I think this is a Gundo game, in my opinion. I think he's so good at retaining the ball, and this is his kind of game. I don't know about anyone else, but I just feel like when you think of Ilkay in this kind of game, this is what he's built for, in my opinion. I don't know about anyone else. I'd definitely play him, but I don't know what anyone else thinks.
For me, I'd probably go with that, man. I think as well, if you go in for a back 4, I don't think you need Bernardo in there. Because for me, Bernardo's a player in there who gives you energy, who helps you in the big games. But I think if you're playing a flat back 4 with 2 wing backs that won't be giving you very much and should be staying in a relatively solid back 4 line, I think that you can get away with the back 4 Rodri. And obviously Gundogan will drop as well. I don't necessarily think you need Bernardo in the middle there. So, and as well, if the game is open, who's the best out of them two to provide assists to Haaland? Obviously, he almost got one, didn't he? I think he was the one that played the ball through to Foden, I think it was. Gundogan obviously went when Foden slipped. So for me, I probably just edge Gundogan. Although I would understand maybe why people might go for Foden.
I think Bernardo, if we're playing Bernardo in a more forward position, Bernardo's better on the right.
Yeah, I would agree. But I think if you're looking to really be a killer team and create chances, Gundogan's better than Bernardo all day long.
Agreed.
He's got the passing behind. He's got more goals. He gets more assists than Bernardo Silva. So,
100%.
And again, I just think with that flat back 4, that's probably the way to go for it. For me, my opinion. Mulf,
sorry, yeah. I'm just going to say his leadership as well. You have him on the pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
kind of like that a little bit this season, especially obviously if Diaz starts. he's kind of got that kind of side to him. But I think you've got to have Gundo in the middle of the pitch for me. Seen on the documentaries, the kind of stuff he's saying and that, and I think that's sort of what he wants.
Yeah,
I'd agree with what you both saying there. Yeah, slightly edge it towards Gundo.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Right. Final comment on this. By the way, I did do a poll. 69% of people in the chat also agree with Ilkay Gundogan. I did actually throw Phil Foden in there just to see what people would say. And Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden have got exactly the same amount of votes for the midfield position, which is quite interesting. Final discussion then before we wrap up again, just quickly on this one. And by the way, if you or anyone needs to dip off, then obviously just get off, no problem, man. Right wing, do you stick with Foden, who had a decent game, or do you bring back Champions League Riyad Mahrez? This is a big one for me. Riyad loves the competition. It's almost Ramadan. You know what it's like when it's Ramadan. The guy starts cooking. I don't know on this one. I'm kind of torn because I thought Phil Foden played really, really well. I really want to stick him in there, but for me, Champions League Mahrez just hits different in my opinion, and I'm kind of favouring Mahrez. Hugh, I'll come to you on this one, bro. What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm the same with Champions League. Mahrez gets me excited, man. I think I'd go with Mahrez, and you look to play Foden then in the Bournemouth game away on Sunday. He just is the man for Champions League big moments. Riyad Mahrez, isn't he? And like I said, we need to be defensively sound, obviously, to hopefully take a clean sheet or minimal damage to the Etihad. But if there's a handful of players in the team that you reckon could nick us a goal in Germany on Wednesday, you'd have to put Riyad Mahrez on that list. So yeah, I'm going with Mahrez.
And we're not going with Foden on the right, by the way. We've just ruled that out now.
No. This is what we're discussing, bro.
I know. I would. Do you know what? I probably would. I think Foden's good in the Champions League as well. I think Foden's always come good in the Champions League.
It's not an easy choice. I don't think it is.
I'll be honest, yeah. It's hard because I know Grealish's confidence is really getting there.
Yeah.
But in the Champions League, if I look at our best moments, it's involved Foden and Mahrez.
I was going to say, Grealish obviously been incredible since the World Cup, particularly. But you look at the last two games; he's played pretty much the whole of those two games. And no players no, you know what I mean? Like under Pep, anyone can be dropped. Like it doesn't mean he's a bad player. It doesn't mean he's not going to do well in that game. But sometimes you just get swapped out for somebody because we have that many games. He's had two big games, and maybe I honestly think you could possibly see Foden and Mahrez. And then obviously Haaland down the middle, but we'll see. I'm sure we'll find out.
It's hard because then if we go back to thinking, if we were to be trying to hit them on the counter, that's somewhere where Grealish can really thrive because that's how he used to play. So
Well, if you look at some of his best performances this season, Dabs, I'm talking performances, not where he's got goals and assists. It's in bigger games where he gets more space to do shit. I think the games where he struggles is where teams play low blocks and he's got no overlapping fullback because we don't play with an overlapping fullback, and his only option is to go down the left-hand side where he's then on his weaker foot and he'll just cross it in and get a corner, or cut inside where he's probably got a fullback, maybe a centre-back, maybe a midfield on him.
Bernardo or Rodri or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's probably, for me, I think Grealish kind of thrives in big games. As well, the thing is with Grealish, because he's in good form right now, I'm really hesitant to take him out. Yeah, and I fully understand he cannot play every single game now to the rest of the season. I'm not an idiot, but because of how good he's playing, and this is probably the best sort of form that he's had since he's been at the football club. This is such a big game. I kind of just want to say, go out there and do it again, rather than saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to rest you because you played 90 minutes against Forest and 90 minutes against Arsenal or whatever. It's really tricky, but I understand he can't play every game, and at some point you will have to pull him out. Anyone else got anything to add on the right wing, sort of winger? Anything?
I'm gonna jump off, lads. I've got to go and do the show. So thanks for having me on. Good chatting to you again. See you very soon.
See you in a bit, bro. Any of you lads got anything to add on the winger debate?
Just think there's too much at stake in this. You got to play the informed players. So Grealish and Mahrez for me.
Grealish and Mahrez, yeah. Is it maybe a bit of a shame then that Foden didn't get back in maybe 2 weeks ago to give us a proper debate? And if you look at the poll in the chat, 75% of people have gone for Mahrez, 16% going for Phil Foden, and that's probably again just because Phil Foden's not. I think that Mahrez probably would have edged it anyway because it's the Champions League, but just because it's probably a little bit too soon. And
he's another one that would really want the Champions League as well.
Yeah.
His age,
you know what though, Daps, as well, maybe having Foden off the bench, you know what I mean, 60, 70, 80 minutes in the game there, the opposition tiring a little bit, maybe bring him on and say, you need to be electric like you was in the Forest game. Maybe that's the way to go. But I'm certainly looking forward to it. Go on.
Daps, I was going to say, you said you didn't really like the score predictions then before the Arsenal one. I don't think it was bang on, but we won the game. So can we get?
But then I predicted the Forest one and we lost, bro. It's just throwing me out. Bro, and I wore my lucky socks and we lost. So well, we drew. To be fair, we drew.
Yeah.
I hate it when people ask me because I'm like,
Yeah, I won't ask you for your score predictions then, but I'm going to ask you for the result prediction. That's a proper way to get around it. I think City will go there, and I see a score draw or City just edging it. I'm looking like honestly, maybe like a 3-2 at City. Honestly, something like that. I think there could be goals in this game. I think both teams will be open and attack it up, and I think there could be goals. So I'm going to go for maybe like a 2-2, 3-2, but I'm going to go 3-2 City. You guys back in the City?
Like that. Exactly my thoughts.
I'm going 2-0.
2-0.
Woo!
Clean sheet.
Yeah, I'm saying 2-0, and I'm saying De Bruyne and Haaland get one each.
Fairs.
Wow.
Fairs. Buzzing.
I've gone bold with it. It better pay off.
Right, cool. I think we'll probably wrap it up there. Lads, let us know what content you got coming up. Daps, what you saying, bro?
I'm Never a Foul have content the next couple of days. I'm out in Leipzig, like Luke. But yeah, Never a Foul. Check us out. Generic content.
There you go.
Thanks for having me as always.
Yeah, we're obviously off to Leipzig. Get a big video of that game. Hopefully catch up with the Daps and Big Steve, etc. at the game. And then to Bournemouth as a bit of a trek at the weekend. And then
Especially
we've got, I believe,
that is a trek.
Yeah. And then I believe Newcastle at home, is it? And then Palace away or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of ways.
So yeah, nice one.
A lot of vlogs.
Yeah.
I'm on the Noisy Neighbours podcast with my mate Joey over here in the States. We'll probably wait till after Leipzig to do our podcast for the week. So yeah, probably come out late night Wednesday in the States, early morning Thursday in the UK.
Sweet. There we go. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. I really have enjoyed it as well, getting the guys' opinions on the Forest game and the upcoming game against Leipzig. We've got the press conference reaction coming for you tomorrow. And then, of course, the main preview tomorrow night as well. So make sure you stay locked in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well and hit the like button. Do us a favour before you go. Hit the links in the title. Go and subscribe to the guys. Help support the City community. Other than that, I guess, guys, we'll see you in the next one, man. Peace out.
Nice one.